Switch on the monitor, will you? Yeah. See where we are. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
I didn't guess it.
No? I should have suspected that.
What are we going to do now?
3 guesses.
Pull to open.
Pull to open!
Yes, and what do you do?
Images that move and speak.
I shouldn't listen to them too hard if I were you. I'm not all that proud of some of them.
Just get it over with.
Your word is my command.
Here comes the grand finale.
Here come the drums!
Ruth and Stew, 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 Ruth and Stew. Hello, and come, pull to open, come. I summon thee from the podcast vortex. I'm Pete Paschal.
And I'm Chris Taylor. And yes, this is Pull to Open, otherwise known as the podcastiest podcast that ever podcasted. We are throwing out references already that will make sense later, I promise. But we are on a random adventure for our sins. I'm not quite sure what they are, but the Time Lords have not yet yanked us out of it. So we're doing it live. We're keeping going, and we have blundered into something that we often talk on this podcast about fever dreams. We're going to be entering a fever dream today. But first of all, Pete, catch up the fine folks on where we have been on this weird adventure.
I'm just impressed my summoning worked. We're here.
Yes, that's right.
But where were we?
Held the crystal.
Previously.
We held the crystal.
Previously. On Pull to Open. A few stories ago, we were at the Randomizer's old comfort food of Peter Capaldi, his era, back there in his first season, when he was incognito at Coal Hill School, along with, who was that? Clara. Clara and Danny Pink.
Yeah.
And figuring things out in The Caretaker.
Hey. The Caretaker, which had one Matt Smith impersonator in it, in case you forgot.
Nice.
Which may be appropriate for the Randomizer's next move, which was
going to the Series 6 opener, two-parter.
Yeah.
The epic, and we can say it now, banger.
Yes.
Of the Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon. Which is, we found, fantastically delightful when you aren't looking at the whole of Series 6, I guess, and just taking it out of that. It's a darn good season opener.
The Randomizer definitely wanted us to compare it, I think, with what was to follow, with where it took us next, in terms of timey-wiminess. A lot of people fault Moffat for his timey-wiminess, but my goodness, compare it to other eras of Doctor Who, and wow.
And then, which was the Randomizer's new comfort food, apparently.
Yes.
Back in the third Doctor era, the invasion of the dinosaurs, only the second adventure with one Liz Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith. But the Randomizer's been, shooting out a lot of these Pertwee stories lately, and I think we can definitively say it's out of its Capaldi phase and fully into its Pertwee phase.
Yes, and I just want to set us up here for something you may not expect, which is, I may have mentioned briefly on the podcast before, my sister's name is Ruth. The Randomizer has made it known that it is aware of Ruth and her Christmas presents for me that mysteriously arrived at Easter when we did last Christmas. Her present, so you think you created a wormhole, arrived. Just timey-wimey all over the shop. But the Randomizer took us to Invasion of the Dinosaurs, which is timey-wimey, compare it to Impossible Astronaut, etc. But also has a character named Ruth and has a Pertwee episode. So where did it take us next?
Well, it took us to, I think, possibly the only other Pertwee episode with a character named Ruth.
Yes!
It is Season 9, Serial 5, the final serial of Season 9.
Hey.
The Time Monster.
The Time Monster. My goodness. So this one has a reputation, which we'll get into. But I just want to say, if you don't actually know my sister and you're looking for other reasons why you might be interested in the Time Monster, I'm just going to go back and talk to myself of 2 weeks ago. Here's what I would say. This is the one with Darth Vader. That's what I would say. I'd
It
just
is.
throw that in there for starters. I'd also maybe, say something under my breath about Sergeant Benton in a diaper.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, I'd be like, what?
Must we, though?
Must we? Must we? Must we talk about TOMTITs and coccyxes? I think we must, because this is one of the sort of the dialogue is so weird in what we're about to talk about. It's just that there is much to unpack here. I think it's fair to say that.
Let's just not unpack Benton's diaper. That's all I'm asking.
Yes, do not unpack that diaper. Although they didn't really succeed in feeding him, so you got to.
That's right.
Anyway,
You could maybe unpack David Prowse's diaper, who is in the thing.
He refuses to wear one.
Just to explain that Darth Vader reference, and but that's enough of the references that you get to talk about, at least in this serial, because it is time, before we get to our commentary on the Time Monster, to move into another time field, one that is slowly approaching, and we're getting there. It seems like an infinite number of steps. We can't get to it in time, except our Time Lord nature lets us burst out, and yes, we've achieved getting to the Whomoji challenge.
Oh no, we've dropped into interstitial time. We've dropped into the moment between the now and the now, and between the now and the now is an eternal string of Whomoji challenges.
We've got to get to the Whomoji between now and now, yes. Or the yeah, that's great.
That's right. I'm just going to run on the spot in slow motion while we do
No,
this.
it's the time of the show where I get to torture Chris by describing emojis to him. And those emojis do correspond to one of the many adventures in the TV series Doctor Who. And he's going to guess which one.
That's right, which only requires carrying around 300 plus names in my head at all times, which, I'm just not that big a Doctor Who fan. That's why this is always a challenge. I don't automatically zero in on
That's the name.
It's the challenge.
You've already won something, not the challenge, but you've won something.
Thank you.
And because the last time, if you recall, it was kind of it was actually a monster-sized Whomoji challenge. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, the 17 DVDs.
That's right. That was in honor of the monsters that were quite gargantuan in the Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Here, the title is Monster, but because I believe in opposites, it's time to flip it. This is going to be a much more manageable Whomoji challenge. It's not...
Thank goodness.
It's not our smallest one ever, but there are a few emojis. There's, in fact, 3 emojis in this one. So are you ready, sir, for the 3 emoji Whomoji challenge?
As I will ever be.
Awesome. All right, here we go. First emoji.
Yep.
Bald guy. In fact, it's a bald white guy, which might be helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Next emoji is a glass of scotch. So it's a glass of a drink. It's a drink.
Okay.
The third emoji is a squid.
I'm feeling my confidence building.
Well, that's it. That's all you get.
That's it? Oh.
Yeah. So
okay.
You better that confidence better be merited in your
my confidence stalled.
Your next words.
My confidence meter reading is not.
Oh, let me drop that
in
the chat. Just so
yes. I need to get my confidence meter just.
Where is the chat? Do we have a chat in this?
Do we have a chat?
I shouldn't even say it,
folks. We're doing it live on a different recording system than normal, so
correct.
Normally at this moment,
I think I got to text it to you.
That's wow. We've stepped down in technology. We're taking it back to 1971 with texting. Oh, okay, there it is. It's also coming in on my watch. That's fantastic. Is it?
Should have done that in the first place if you think about it.
Is it Twice Upon a Time?
It is not Twice Upon a Time.
Oh, the Doctor, the drink, the squid being the Dalek that they meet in Twice Upon a Time.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. I could see you thinking that.
See, that's why I fell short on, I thought it was going to be Squid and Dustbin, but then, maybe they were signaling that Dalek was a bit more human. Okay, no, I'm going to need a hint for this one.
Well, you're going to have to be a little literal with the bald guy. So there's kind of a bald guy, and his baldness features as kind of a plot point.
Oh, crap. Is this something we've done?
It is something we've done.
Oh God, I'm going to be horribly embarrassed. Oh, it's Planet of the Ood.
It's Planet of the Ood!
God.
Great job!
Good God, people! You're
What gave it away? The plot point part? Because it's like drink.
Well, no, what gave it away was we've done it.
Oh, okay.
Therefore, I just had to riffle back through my pull to open memory, all the way to January. My goodness. Go check out our Planet of the Ood podcast where we talked a lot about the hair tonic. And okay, I feel foolish, but I don't know.
All right. This is not by far not your worst performance in the Whomoji challenge. I thought that you did quite well.
Very low bar, sir.
I also thought
it's okay.
that CT Tig did quite well in leaving all of these emojis for us, or Whomojis rather, in a review on the Apple Podcast app. We're almost through them all, but CT Tig was a very wise fan of Pull to Open in that he submitted all of his Whomojis through the reviews, which automatically puts you to the front of the line. We've got a couple more that came in on reviews, and actually we have one more in CT Tig's batch. I'll probably just mix it up a bit over the next couple weeks. And there are a few others we got outside of reviews, but I'm sorry, folks, you do have to wait because the reviews always take precedence. So, but we've got a few for the next several Pull to Open. So, again, thank you, CT Tig, and you too can have your Whomoji featured. Again, the best way to do it through the Apple Podcast app. You go to the front of the line, or at least as close as we can get you.
CT Tig's kind of becoming the master to my doctor in these Whomoji challenges. He just keeps coming back up. I keep trying to capture him at the end, but no. Thanks,
He is the master of the Whomojis.
That's right. All right.
Now,
well, there's something else you can do other than listen to me get tortured and contribute tortures. Which is that you can vote if you're on Spotify, and if not, why not? Just get a free burner account. Just go vote at the bottom of the screen. You pull from the bottom of the screen. That's right, it's Poll to Open. You can give the rating on the story. If you are just chomping at the bit to rate the Time Monster, you can do that right now. You don't even need to listen to us talking about Darth Vader smashing through a glass wall that's not glass, but and it's not even Darth Vader in that scene, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, we have ratings now for the previous vote. These polls stay open. Go back and listen to the Caretaker podcast if you want to go vote on the Caretaker, which people did, as we mentioned. We did that 3 stories ago.
Pretty good showing here.
Yeah, Pete, I think we can call a definitive winner so far, at least in the voting. It seems that the direction is clear.
It is very clear. It is the first past the post is the Dalek. It is a good episode of Doctor Who by a wide margin. Which is
that fits into which of our ratings was the Dalek?
Which between us?
Yeah. Just remind me.
Let me see. I don't know. My files are mixed up here. I'm just going to give it to both of us. No, of course, really? Chris Taylor decided to come here to the Dalek. He is way ahead, and so incredibly ahead because pretty much no one thought it was the rating that I gave it, which was the Lady Cassandra. And I'll admit, even given our rating system, my rating was a little unorthodox because the Lady Cassandra usually means it looks good, even though the plot's paper thin. I used a very wide definition of looks good in the sense that the characters and the character development in this one looked good, but there wasn't really much of a plot to hang it on. That was my view. No, it's fair to say nobody saw it that way. Yeah, although
a sizable amount did see it as a Professor Hater, which I feel should have a PE moniker, a PH, Professor Hater also teaches at Coal Hill School. But yeah, some 25% of you thought that it was okay, but it wasn't okay rather. But you learned something.
They tried something.
They tried something. Which they kind of did, to be fair. The Doctor's never gone undercover at Coal Hill School before. But 12.5% of you thought it was a Viscount banger. Best of the best. So there is some love for the Caretaker out there. Yeah,
and there's a few others. There's a little bit of Zarbi, there's a little bit of Ogron, there's even a little bit of Fixed Point in Time. But I think it's pretty clear the Caretaker has aged well. This was a story, I think between the two of us at least, we barely remembered. I certainly was like, oh yeah, it's kind of the one when it's in the school. That's all I kind of remembered about it. But upon viewing it now and reflection and sort of seeing all the dialogue and the character stuff at play here, I'm not going to forget this one for a good long while at least.
And it helped me get over my trauma of watching the Doctor and Danny Pink argue in this very sort of childish way, kind of on both sides. That's what I remember from first time. But yeah, I love Pull to Open for sending me back to these stories. Thank you, Randomizer. Oh, almighty Randomizer, you did not steer us wrong. And a Dalek it is. So thanks, folks. Well,
even though it's after hearing us talk about the Caretaker, you may be tempted to go check it out again. Well, if you don't live in Great Britain, I'm not sure if you can. They're in kind of this weird limbo.
Should we talk about that? The fact that
a little bit.
If you're in the US and you're looking for New Who, I mean, thank goodness we're providing you with something you actually get over streaming in the US right now. We're in Old Who, we're in BritBox territory for our American listeners. But if we somehow go to a New Who episode at the end of this, I don't know how we're going to do it, Pete. We're going to have to buy it. We're going to have to get the DVD. We're going to have to, look onto the murky web. I don't know, because what's happened?
Well, it's now disappeared from pretty much all streaming services. It was only on, I believe, HBO Max. Is it called HBO Max or Max? Oh, no, it was called Max. Now it's back to HBO Max.
Back to HBO Max, yes.
It was on there until July 31st of 2025. Now it's gone. And we're not really sure where it would go next. There's been no news. I'm sure they'll announce it when they announce it. I mean, Doctor Who itself is in limbo right now, so I feel like the BBC's kind of this organization that just kind of wants to cross all the T's at once. And also, if they do make a deal with another streaming service, it would make sense to put, like, you could also have all of New Who as part of the deal, right? So you get the back catalog too. That might be just sort of a card they're going to play in whoever they make the deal with. Assuming Disney doesn't re-up, which it might. I don't know. Who knows what any of these conversations are? Not even, according to Russell T Davies, he doesn't even know. So
trust Doctor Who to give us a behind-the-scenes drama where literally it's like Logopolis, like the lights of the universe are winking out. We can no longer access New Who on HBO Max. Like, what's next? How long is it going to be on BritBox? Could it just be yanked away from us there? Are we all going to have to get VPNs? What's the deal? Anyway, luckily we don't have to deal with that right now.
We don't, not on this one. Time Monster is available on all the places that you can see it. So not just BritBox, but there's like Tubi and a few other things.
But this is where we rattle our tin cup, because we need your help, folks. If New Who is not available except for purchase, we may have to purchase some official pull-to-own copies of New Who. And
that's right.
You can throw us a coin or two.
You can. There's a few places you can do that. You can do it on YouTube. You can become a true companion of this podcast, which doesn't just give you a nice warm feeling in your heart. It'll also unlock some emojis for you so that you can have fun with those as you comment on our videos. And you also will get the podcast early, number of days early, in fact. So look forward to that. And if you only want to do a one-time... Spotify is also, but I was going to say, if you want to do a one-time donation on YouTube, you can do a super thanks. So check that out.
Awesome. Donate on Spotify as well. Down at the bottom of the show notes, there's the link. You can do $1, $5, $10, whatever you think is worth it for our continuing coverage. Throw some money into the time vortex, because we're trapped in here, folks. And we're trapped here with our subconscious thoughts, and we're not proud of them. You probably shouldn't listen to them, but you should listen to our conscious thoughts. And given that I won Poll to Open, basically I won the Whomoji challenge, that gives me the right to just rest on my laurels at this point, doesn't it, Pete? Or are you saying that perhaps one more challenge lies ahead of me?
Dude, have you seen inflation? You've got to get 20 of those, at least maybe 200 even. Yeah. It just doesn't used to be 1-to-1, but not anymore, dude. No,
it used to be the 12 tasks of Hercules until inflation kicked in. Okay, fair enough. That's true.
So you are also on the receiving end of this week's TLDW, Too Long Didn't Watch, Too Long Doctor Who, which of course is when we... What's this we crap? We summarize the entire story, the plot of it anyway, in record time. And this week it is your turn to do a 6-episoder that what I just had to do with the invasion of the dinosaurs. So we're kind of little Tom Tit for Tom Tat here.
Oh, nice. Nice. You did not land on your coccyx on that one. All right, all this is going to start to make sense very shortly. But yes, I guess. And if I freeze in the middle, that just means that Tom Tit has been activated, and you'll have to jump in and grab me out of the time vortex while I run on the spot.
That must be it. And remember, you get a full 30 seconds for every Classic Who episode, so you're going to have a full 3 minutes for the Time Monster.
Take a drink.
Do it. Grab that drink. Okay. Perpetually guzzle as you prepare to give us the official pull to open summary of the Time Monster in 3, 2, 1, go.
The Doctor's having a pippin of a dream, and it's about the Master, and but then there's also an earthquake that tips him off. He thinks the Master's active again, and indeed he is. He's playing this professor at a university who has this TOMTIT technology that creates a gap in interstitial time, and they're doing it, and it kills a window cleaner, and the Master's hypnotized the Dean as well, and he's he's trying to summon Kronos is what he's doing, but Unit is coming in, and they're messing everything up, and of course the Doctor's come in to investigate, and the Master actually summons a guy from Atlantis because he's looking for the crystal that will summon Kronos. So he has this crystal, it's connected to this thing in Atlantis. The priest comes back, and he's like the Master's dude, and then the Dean is the Master's dude because he summons Kronos. Kronos eats the head of the college. Kronos is big flapping white bird, and then the Doctor tries to stop him. Benton tries to. There's all sorts of shenanigans with Benton and this guy named Stu, Ruth and Stu turns old because of the Master's experiments. But the Doctor interferes with the Master's attempts to get the crystal from Atlantis, so they can fully summon Kronos. And then the Master freezes time basically with the TOMTIT machine, and then jumps in his TARDIS, but the Doctor follows him, and there's TARDIS inside TARDIS action. The Doctor is inside the Master's TARDIS. The Master's TARDIS is inside the Doctor's TARDIS. There's a whole back and forth where the Master puts the Doctor on mute and then makes his words go backwards, and it's all very childish. And then the Master uses Kronos to attack the Doctor, and he's out of the time vortex, but Jo can bring him back into the TARDIS by pressing some levers and not listening to his subconscious thoughts. And then they land in Atlantis, and the Master lands first, and he persuades the Queen to help him basically depose the King of Atlantis and take control of this crystal that's going to summon Kronos on a massive scale, this huge crystal that's guarded by a Minotaur. And Jo and the Doctor are there. Jo gets into the Atlantean costume, and she's down in the... she's getting attacked by the Minotaur, but the Doctor saves her, and Hippias, this other guy who wants the crystal, saves her. But then he dies, and the Minotaur, and then the Minotaur dies, and then it's all about the crystal. And the Master finally does get control of the crystal by usurping power, and Kronos arrives, and Kronos destroys Atlantis. But the Master escapes in his TARDIS. The Doctor, unbeknownst to the Master, who's also taken Jo prisoner, escapes in the TARDIS, and then they end up in interstitial time because Jo time rams the Master's TARDIS into the Doctor. Even the Doctor can't bring himself to do it, can't bring himself to time ram. They end up in interstitial time. They see real Kronos, a big-faced woman, and the Doctor asks for contrition for the Master, and the Master pulls a fast one on the Doctor and gets back to his TARDIS.
Nice.
And that's it.
That's pretty good. I thought you were going to end way early, and then you were just like, "Oh, he stretched out that final scene."
I would like to stretch out that final scene just a little bit further because we have to get back to Cambridge. Right. Because just think that happened 3,500 years ago. It didn't, by the way, not in any version of the myth. We will have a pull to open a history corner or Atlantis coming up.
Oh my!
Very brief one. Very brief one. But then we get back to the Cambridge laboratory where the TOMTIT machine is, and Benton, who was also turned into a baby by the last activation of the machine, is there, and he's back, and he's naked, and he doesn't know what's going on, and everyone laughs at him.
Does that count as like the worst full TLDW ever, or because you took that long to get to the Baby Benton, or just sort of an addendum?
I mean, okay. Baby Benton is kind of an addendum, as a lot of things in the Time Monster feel like kind of an addendum. Baby Benton's one of them. But yes, perhaps we should just step back a little bit for a moment.
Let's step back a moment.
Had you seen this one before?
I have, yeah. I hadn't seen it in a long time, probably maybe even like 30 years or something like that. But I definitely had seen it when it was broadcast in KSBS sometime in the 80s, and I'm sure I recorded it and watched it on video a couple times after that. Yeah, it's memorable, I think, a lot because of the Benton unit stuff, and just like the Dr. Joe stuff. Like they're very familiar right now, the Doctor unit. Like there's a lot of kind of fun unit character stuff going on in here, especially that first episode where the Brigadier's like, you're supposed to come with me to this thing. I don't know what they're going to be talking about. And the Doctor's like, no, I'm way too busy. And then Benton comes in and he's ready to go, and he's got his like suede jacket on or something. And it's That's like, right. Benton, you're coming with me.
Benton was about to have 48 hours leave and did not know that within 48 hours he'd be standing in a diaper, which is apparently what John Levine was actually wearing in the studio. He was not naked in front of them, although it might look that way. He committed to the bit. He wore a nappy, which is, of course, what we call them in the UK. And yeah, that's just one of the weirdest things about a very, very weird story. Yeah. It is safe to say.
It's a weird story. I don't think it's super well regarded, as I understand it, but I do think it's probably a little unfairly maligned. I think it's probably a little overrated because of that, because of its reputation. Underrated, like in that, I think it's better than its reputation is what I'm trying to get at. Partly and probably mostly because of the character stuff I'm talking about. But, and I know I don't want to jump to the end of anything of this, but this is a master story, obviously. And this time when I watched it, I really appreciated Roger Delgado, I have to say. And we could go right into that, or we could do it later. But I would say as a master story, this is quite good.
This is now a Roger Delgado Stan podcast. I think we do have to go straight there because he's absolutely the best thing. You possibly want him to succeed more than the Doctor in this. Right. Because he's just so good about it. He takes his villainy, when Joe, complains about his villainy, he takes it as a compliment. He's like, that's the most evil thing I've ever heard. Well, thank you, dear. I mean, he's so Roger Delgado in this. Like, I just wanted more of him and less of everyone else.
And there's a lot of him in it. I mean, like, I would say his lines, like the one you mentioned, like he twists his mustache just the right amount. I feel like, like it's not too much. Like, it's hard to almost really articulate why you appreciate this probably a little more than Tony Ainley. Even though I like Tony Ainley, I think he's good, and also like he's more of taste. I think he had to have a certain amount of taste to sort of tolerate Tony Ainley. But for Delgado, I think is a little more broadly. He's got more broad appeal. And
you just love to hate him. You absolutely love to hate him. And I remember my dad talking during the Anthony Ainley era. Pertwee was more his style, about how great Delgado was. And of course, we couldn't see on British TV in those days all these old Roger Delgado stories. But he was absolutely right. Like, Anthony Ainley, love you, Tony Ainley, but pale imitation. Like, this was the original and the best. He's just so wonderfully villainous. And part of that in this is the fact that he's not doing any of that disguise nonsense. It's just the Master's decided to become an academic. Like, that is what's going on here.
He does put on a pretty lousy Greek accent here and there in the first couple of episodes.
But he's not even trying to hide his name.
Right.
Even though UNIT is apparently scouring the entire planet for him. Let's not forget UNIT is a planet. He's priority A1. He's public enemy number one as far as UNIT's concerned. And here he is. He's adopted the Greek version of his name. and gone to work at a major British university.
You'd think if it was A1, someone would look back at all of the aliases and be like, okay, he's always doing some variation of master, you know, and or it's an anagram or something. Let's look at every person like that. You'd instantly narrow it down, and master in any language. Or some like rearranging the letters of master or some variations of master, that would just be a program you'd be running in the background constantly.
Unit would have done so well to restart Bletchley Park, or to tap into GCHQ like Spy Network. Like this is just they are falling down on the job if they allowed this to happen. But I do like that the Brigadier gets to say that, and it's like it's actually our number one priority, which would make sense for UNIT. Like your primary purpose is to defend against threats to extraterrestrial, and the world, probably the universe's number one criminal is loose on your planet. Yep. As far as you know, I mean, I guess he has his TARDIS, so he could be anywhere, but he seems pretty obsessed with Earth at this point. So. Looking for the master would be should be that high. So I'm glad that he's right on top of it. I mean, supposedly. I like the headcanon that I came across for this, and I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but this notion that the Master, obviously we still don't know what the Master and the Doctor's relationship was. Were they actually, family, or were they just really close at school? Apparently they spoiled each other's time experiments at school. So we know that, and, we'll get to talking about how the Doctor talks for the first time about being a little boy in the Time Monster. Yeah. But yeah, I like the headcanon that when the Doctor was banished to Earth by the Time Lords, that's the first time that the Master knew where the Doctor was.
Right.
And it becomes a safe target. So you can see all of the Delgado era is basically he's bored and he just wants to, he needs the Sherlock to his Moriarty. He needs the Doctor, and finally
pretty much.
knows where he is.
It's not like you need to explain it too much. In that, in the same way that the Marvel universe is Earth has all the heroes and all the Infinity Stones. It's just we're telling stories from Earth. We're not just going to make up a bunch of shit. Just to kind of balance it out in some way. So I think it's fine. But I really like in this episode that they really show the Master thinking on his feet again and again, really from episode 1, where he's alerted by his assistants that, these guys are escorted by a unit jeep. And he suddenly is I can't be seen by unit. I'm priority A1 on unit.
But also
giving up the game.
Has the gall to say he's a pacifist, which is
right.
Just so perfectly Master-esque. No, sorry, I can't handle these unit people.
I just like that. Obviously you throw obstacles in front of the hero, and there are a lot of them. But they sort of believably, the Doctor and the Master in particular, not just the Doctor, but they throw a lot of obstacles the Master's way, and the script does a good job of keeping them varied and showing that he can handle himself. I will say he gets the he gets the better of Benton one too many times. I do feel bad for Benton because Benton had the drop on him, I think at least twice, maybe 3 times, and each time the Master either punches him out or fools him into thinking he's surrendering when he's not, and then doesn't. He just gets away. It's annoying.
They have this debate about what the oldest trick in the book is. According to Benton, the oldest trick in the book is phoning you up and doing a pitch-perfect imitation of Nicholas Courtney. I don't think that's the oldest trick in the book, Benton. I think the Master is right. Oh, Doctor, what a surprise. Punch. That is the oldest trick in the book. He is right. Score 1 for Roger Delgado. Score 0 for Benton. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, the thing is, he's got to be a formidable villain, so he's got to get the better of him. I get it. Otherwise, but you also you want to give Benton a little something, and he never quite gets it. He gets obviously humiliated at the end by getting turned into a baby, and then it doesn't end woken up as naked. But the Master does a bunch of
after him. Poor guy.
Yeah, he does a bunch of stuff, and he's gets to be evil, to Jo and everyone. I will say, I'm a little split on the ending. So when Kronos is now freed, and then they're in the vortex or whatever, and the Master comes out and begs for his life directly to the Doctor, and he's like, "Please, Doctor, please, please, please." I'd actually tolerated probably a little more this time, but I do remember even as a kid thinking like, "Ooh, that just didn't." It's a little incongruous with the guy we've just seen the last few episodes. Even though, like, of course, he also gets the better of them and then escapes. But it was just a little rough, a little cringe, I guess.
It's the cringe is exactly the word that I noted down again and again on my transcript of the Time Monster. Cringe. So many of the jokes are cringe. So many of the setups are cringe. So many of the puns are cringe. Like, it just all of the way they treat the Brigadier is just kind of stupid, and just the straight man in every situation was kind of cringe. Like, there's a lot. The way the Master is staring at the Queen of Atlantis, a little bit cringe. Although,
well,
say that's.
It's a lot to stare at, you could say.
Yes. I mean, we'll get to the largest expanse of, to quote the actress in person, one of the biggest expanses of bosom ever in Doctor Who. There it is. In Doctor Who magazine, she said that. Ingrid Pitt. But we'll get to that. But I kind of like overall, so dialogue's cringe, yes, and a lot of the situation is cringe, and definitely the Master on his knees at the end, totally cringe. You don't buy it. You don't buy that Delgado would do that and not, like, have a trick up his sleeve. I mean, come on. But and the tonal shift keeps going back and forth on, like, whether he is just sort of being a villain for the hell of it, because that's what's suggested by Joe saying when they've captured him. Joe says, "Aren't you going to say curses foiled again?" Which might be kind of wonderfully meta if the rest of the script wasn't actually at the level of curses foiled again. You know? Basically.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. Like they it's like almost like
cliche in the book.
The writer, which is I guess Robert Sloman, but
Robert Sloman.
With a little Barry Letts help from behind the scenes, basically almost wanted something there that was a little more straight, and then they were like, let's just draw attention to the fact that we can't do the straight thing because it's way too cliche. And you almost feel like someone could have said, now we can't do it because it's too cliche. That said, I think everything like that Delgado gets, he sells really well. Even like when he's doing like sort of standard Master hypnotized stuff, like I think this is probably some of the best sort of hypnosis scenes he does, like with that guy, the Dean, and he sort of just puts him under, and it's like, because he's already discovered him. It's like, and you almost think the jig's up, because he's like, what pray tell is interstitial time?
Yes. The Dean, actually, the way the Master treats him as a pet dog, which, by the way, he also calls Kronos a pet dog, literally, which is like, dude, it's a bird. Come on. Like, why are you using dog metaphors? But the Dean really is kind of the Master's dog. And he says he enjoys how well hypnotized the Dean guy was at one point.
That was cool. That was a good bit of meta commentary there on it, where he's like, oh, this is awesome. I'm totally taking you over. And it's just like old times.
Yeah, he says it makes me miss the old days. So the Master's just been like constantly going around the galaxy, just hypnotizing people.
Well, the old days of Terra the Autons.
Those old days. Yes, I guess that is meta commentary. Yeah, but I like how much fun the Master seems to be having, even when he just has fun like telling the Dean off for interrupting him because he's trying to do sums on paper, which is beautiful. And he says E equals MC cubed. And the Dean puts down his phone. He's like, no, I think you mean squared. Like, no, not in, the time vortex physics. You dolt. You interfering dolt. He gets to say a lot of stuff like that. And when he summons Roundheads, which is something I didn't even get to in the TLDW, but he attacks a unit with a knight in shining armor, Roundheads, and a V1 bomb, which is actually the original inspiration for Robert Sloman's idea for all of this. But when he brings on the Roundheads, they're not shooting unit fast enough. He says, "Get on with it, you 17th century poltroons!" I mean, who gets to say stuff like that and make it work except Roger Delgado? But this is the Master just having fun and just settling down in academia and smoking a cigar. And it's almost like this isn't a world-conquering plot after all.
Totally. Like, it feels like he's kind of doing a lot of this stuff just for kicks. Like, and which he is, right? Almost. Yeah. Like, he's kind of distracting them, and I guess that's part of the plot, but I think he just likes doing it. I also think one of the things I really appreciated watching it this time was the the sort of the real world solution to dealing with the Master just doesn't work, at least most of the time. In that there's a few times where Benton, the Brigadier, Ruth, everyone is like, he's just right there. He's just in the lab. Let's just go get him. And they try, and it's just like they do the slow motion time field. This is actually one area where I think better special effects would be like make the scene a little more resonant in that.
Yes.
Because it's just sort of slow-mo, like Bionic Man type stuff.
It's Bionic, yes. Another note memo to me of 2 weeks ago. This is the one with Nicholas Courtney doing his Bionic Man impression.
Yeah, I think better special effects might have like helped that frustration, of like he's right there, but we can't do anything about it, and even like the Brigadier and everyone gets frozen at the end. And then that's like for like 2 whole episodes. I think they're basically most of the action's in Atlantis at that point, but it's kind of cool that they make the most out of that like university setting, which is really just a lab and the quad and like Stu's room. I think that's really all you see. Oh yeah, and the dean's office. That's about it.
Well, let's pivot from the Master to the Master's succession of underlings that we see here, all of whom exist to be berated by the Master, basically. He really gets off on that. And we start with Ruth and Stu, who are such a pair, such a cringe pair, you might say, but they make quite a pair, and they are, I mean, Ruth is sort of like the beginning of like overt women's lib in Doctor Who, I guess.
Probably, it's carried on by Sarah a bit.
The only plot points like that you really know about it, she's announced as a women's libber, and it's all this, but she's written terribly for a women's libber. Like there's so many times where she's just like berating the men for not doing their manly job.
I suppose. I mean, you got to sort of like take it for what it is in terms of the time. I'm willing to sort of correct a little bit because this is probably fairly sort of new. I wouldn't necessarily say groundbreaking stuff, but there's like, this is the area of Mary Tyler Moore show and whatever else. And there's a lot of overt sort of women's lib in popular media at the time. So having her sort of play that role, I think is fine. I also think there's a bit of a banter between the two of them, and when the Brigadier comes in, I definitely get the sense like these are all the normies, not that they're obviously nerds about what they're doing, but I like the little bit where the Brigadier's like, all right, that's a fine bit of contraption. How does it all work? In words, with just one syllable.
With one syllable, yes.
Like I'll do my best, and then you kind of get the sense there's a little bit of chumminess going on. Stu is a little annoying. But Stu, because stuff happens to him, because stuff happens to him pretty quickly, you're sort of suddenly feeling sorry for him. Though I will say it doesn't make any sense that his thing gets reversed and nothing happens to anyone else. Like, because I don't know, this is a nitpick, but it is like, isn't TOMTIT like an area effect? Why would it be so targeted on him? I don't know.
It's so weird. Yeah, he just sort of turns 80 and then deals. Gets hysterical about that, and then he's back to normal, and then it's just back to the flat for marmalade sandwiches. But Stu is also like clearly a gay-coded character. Like it's walking right up to the line of saying it. Like he's, when there's one point where Ruth says like you don't count, where she's complaining about men, and she's like, oh, you don't count. There's like he's wearing the ascot. He's very effeminate. He has a bottle of Moroccan Burgundy under his bed. I just, not that that's gay coding anything, but that's just like, you find out weird things about Stu's life, but it's just, the way that he talks, I don't know what they were walking up to here, what they thought they were doing. I haven't been able to find anything in the archives about what Robert Sloman intended with these characters.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm a little, I don't know. I just don't get any politics to it or anything other than that, he's just sort of this character. Other than that, he's like, oh, he's a character. Like he's this outgoing, goofy guy. He's like,
who says lovey a lot. Yes.
He's a little hippie, I guess, or maybe a little gay. I don't know. I mean, there's another 70s. You probably didn't want to walk over that, but even if you did, like, why why do it at all?
Well, it was,
but maybe
homosexuality became legal in Britain in 1969. So like we're entering an era where it's like it's okay, but you just sort of don't quite mention it. It's like there were a lot of
it might be that simple. You know what I mean? In terms of like what he's doing, it's like, well, this is new to acknowledge it. Let's just acknowledge it, or in a very oblique way, because again, he could just be a character. Like I've known guys like that, like when I was in college, who I don't think they were gay, maybe, I don't know, like, but it was like just people who were characters. Like that's kind of what college does, is that sort of brings out more of you, because you're not sort of reacting so much to the extremely high pressure politics of high school, where it's all you're just all in one. Everyone's so insecure, you dare not move out of your your predetermined stereotypes.
Well, certainly there is no lack of sassiness in the TOMTIT office, and especially when they see, like, they call the master a fruitcake. They also or nutcase, and they also call the doctor a nutcase, fruitcake standard, when he's constructing his spinning fork thing.
Oh my god!
Oh my God, can we talk about that? There are some moments that are so cringe. There are so cringe, and one of them is the Doctor using this device to interfere with the Master's time experiments. The Master, meanwhile, is on his fourth assistant at this point. He's killed the Dean. He's working with the priest from Atlantis. And they're just assembling bits out of a bottle and a cork and what even science experiment is that? Like, it's something pretty well known, right? That kind of...
Is it? I just thought it was like he was just putting a bunch of crap together, and they were trying to show that because he's a Time Lord, he can do insane stuff with just regular household objects. I'm glad they never did anything like this again, really. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, how does even it's Doctor Who. I'm not expecting, like, extreme, hardcore scientific rigor, but it's like, come on, like you can't just be like throwing out stuff like, oh, it's all Artron energy and the thing can spin and it's interfering. Like, do something with it. It's not like he's trapped there with nothing. Like, just pull out the sonic screwdriver and amplify it somehow or whatever. You don't have to put like tea leaves on a spoon or whatever he has.
And there's so much dialogue. It's so much padding dialogue devoted to where's the corkscrew. And
this is the thing about
Fork Joe and all that stuff.
I mean, the Time Monster, like much of Doctor Who, is probably too long. I didn't feel it was as too long as, say, Invasion of the Dinosaurs, which clearly has like whole episodes of padding. But that scene is padding. Like, it's clearly they need like one extra piece of obstacle for the Master, and the Doctor does this thing, and there's the whole thing with Crassus comes in and he wants him for some reason. He wants him to grab the crystal. Like, just do it yourself, man. And he does do it himself. Like, in the next scene, and he just picks up the whole computer thing, like the whole thing it's on. Like, what were you doing? Like, and because that thing it's on, clearly you need to. Why were you asking him to grab it in the first place? It's just so
much about the sequencing of the experiments and all of the TOMTIT stuff. It just doesn't really make sense. Luckily, they didn't kill the window cleaner who just falls off a ladder early on in the plot. But
I don't want to give the impression that the plot doesn't make any sense, or that is what. Like, actually, I think it's actually decent and comprehensible, absent some of this padding and silliness, right? Because the whole idea, like, oh, there's a crystal that summons Kronos, and then, the Doctor even gets towards the end, he even asks, I think it's Darius or the king. Dalius in Atlantis, why didn't you just destroy the crystal? And he's like, we tried. Like, all we had managed to do was slice off the smaller one. Yep. And it's like, oh, okay. And that's it. All kind of makes sense, It's like, I get it. And the Master's using the crystal with this TOMTIT stuff and his Time Lord knowledge to get access to Kronos, who he thinks he can control. All of that, I get it. Like, the story.
Speaking of Kronos, the bird. Let's talk about the bird.
Let's talk about Kronos.
And let's talk about Kronos, because I think this is one of the several points in the last 3 or 4 weeks where I have read a sentence that started, Barry Letts was disappointed. which seems to be like if AI is trained on frequently used sentences, then the sentence Barry Letts was disappointed in ... because it seems to happen so often in the Pertwee era, right? He was disappointed with the dinosaurs in Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and he was disappointed with Kronos, which should not be confused with the Greek god who swallowed his kids. This is Kronos the Chronovore, who is taking the form of a big white bird.
Yeah. For starters, I always thought it was spelled Kronos with a CH. I don't know why it's a K. Maybe that's just my ignorance, or maybe it's just the Greek mythology. I don't know. But yeah, like the whole thing that it becomes this big bird. I get that like maybe the effects didn't work out so well, and Letts was like, oh no, it's not that menacing. Who decided to add big bird noises?
Yes.
Like, you know, like it's like they just really like as I understand, the feedback was it looks too much like a bird. It's silly. Let's lean into the bird aspect of this. Like, who was not talking to who? Like, what? It was so strange. Like, it's just kind of this guy on wires. When I was a kid, my brother and sister and I would talk about how it's just some guy wrapped in toilet paper. It looks like.
There's so much stuff that just you see it and it just beggars belief. One of them, by the way, the idea that a unit Land Rover Defender, I think it is, could just be run off the road and stuck in the mud, this fantastic overpowered four-wheel vehicle, by a knight on horseback.
Right.
It just oh no, sorry, we're stuck in the mud, sir. That's
got to be some serious mud. Also, yeah, I get trying to avoid the guy on horseback. I mean, it's very British military, right? You're not going to kill someone on the. Yes. You're going to run him over. You're going to stop, or whatever.
But Yates not being able to get out afterwards, and it's so strange to see Yates, you know, knowing the sabotage and the treachery that lies in his future, as we just did in the last podcast on Invasion of the Dinosaurs. It's weird to see him here again, and you know, maybe this did drive him to drink. The Brigadier accuses him of drinking. This may be an episode that has more mentions of alcohol than just about anything in Doctor Who. There's the Moroccan Burgundy in Stu's apartment. There's the Brigadier insisting that Yates has been drinking because he's seeing time stuff. Which, come on, Brigadier, you've been around the block enough, even in this story, to know that time travel is involved. So, no, it's probably not Yates drinking. But I just love the line where Yates is like, I could do with one, sir. I don't mind telling you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, all the unit stuff and the sort of chumminess of it, I think really works. But yeah, like on Kronos, though, just if we can rewind a bit there, I do think, to the point of how bad it looked and how bad it sounded, they should have just almost shown nothing. Like, I think they tried with all the camera stuff when Kronos appears. It turns into almost like, you know, the Bourne Identity or the equivalent of it in 1974, which I think, given how sort of that technique has become, you know, common and mastered, I think it would work better today with like more chaos in that and just barely showing anything. They did put some like Vaseline on the lens to sort of obscure stuff. So they were trying, but I would have leaned into like more, it doesn't look or sound like anything, or just, it's all just chaos, you know, when this thing comes out. Because like time itself is being eaten, supposedly. Like, you would think it would be complete chaos. Like it would just come out, and like, unless you're a Time Lord or something, you wouldn't even like know what happened or even remember things. Like, it'd be so weird. I think they could. It's a little too sophisticated for this era of TV and Doctor Who to sort of do that. But it does. You know, as I'm talking about this episode, it does feel like, again, this is a good candidate for like a remake. Like, if you did a list of like episodes you'd like to remake, like, I think the Time Monsters is a decent contender.
There is an element of this that was sort of remade. And it's the part that's blowing my mind, and it's another thing that I should go back and tell myself of 2 weeks ago about, which is, this is kind of proto-Legopolis. The TARDIS within a TARDIS thing. And they play with it a bit, not as much as they would in Legopolis, but that was almost kind of recycling this idea. I never knew. I was like today years old when I discovered that the Time Monster was the origin of that kind of, creepy, spooky, timey-wimey thing of the TARDIS being inside the TARDIS.
Well, I got to say, I like Legopolis' take better,
Yes,
which is not surprising, but it is because it's like they try to like make it. I'm not quite sure the right word here, but when he decides like, oh, we're both in each other's TARDIS, and it's this sort of riddle without an answer, and it sort of surprises the Doctor that this is the case, but he sort of tries to put on a face to Joe like he expected it. It's a little kindergarten-y. It's a little like almost grade school solution to like what this would be, even though it makes no sense. I do like that in Legopolis, it's like one's inside the other definitively. Yep. Like one is on the outside. And
then you have the recursion, which is where it gets really creepy,
right?
Which isn't in here. It's sort of they throw away the creepiness that they built up of the potential of this in basically a battle where the Master tries to tempt the Doctor out of the TARDIS by putting him on mute. I love that idea. I mean, that's kind of audacious for like. It's almost a New Who thing to say, like, "Oh, the Doctor's so fond of his own voice, let's put him on mute, and he'll just rush out here. He'll do something stupid just because he wants to have the last word." But
that's the thing. Even though the sort of science of it is stupid, I do really like that scene. Like with the two of them on the monitors, and they're talking to each other. They're showing their familiarity with each other, and the Master kind of has the upper hand because he's the evil guy, and he just kind of knows the Doctor well enough on how he's going to react to all this stuff. And then, it's kind of flipped later with the time ram in the final episode. But it's a great bit, particularly, and I just really like the dialogue when he comes out. It's short and sweet, but it is cool. I always remember that exchange where he's like, it ends with him saying like, the Doctor saying to the Master, "You're mad and paranoid," and he's like, "Who is it?" This one says, "I'm just a little more honest than the rest." Goodbye, Doctor. And he just like, "I'm just going to kill you," which is I love this era of the Master. Where I'm just going to kill you. This is what I'm doing. You've been my thorn in my side, but you know what? It's time to die. And he does that again. It's Doctor Who. He's never going to succeed, but it is like he does the missiles in Frontier in Space. Like he actually does want to kill the Doctor, and is really trying. Like so. And
he does want to throw the Doctor into jail, which is where we get another lovely piece of dialogue. Shall we talk about it? The Daisiest Daisy.
Yeah, where he's recounting his time as a kid on Gallifrey.
That's right.
Hermit halfway up the mountain in his backyard or wherever.
Which we've encountered before, because this hermit is also mentioned in Planet of the Spiders. Is that right?
Mentioned. That is who it is.
We are
to
presume that Campo is the hermit, which is wonderful. But here we have the Doctor relating a story about how this hermit blew his mind by pointing out a daisy growing in this horrible grey wildland. This, doesn't say it, but basically it sounds like in this story it was set in a quarry. But like there's one wild flower, and that just gets the Doctor to see everything differently. Well, here we have Barry Letts straight up stealing from Buddhism. I don't know if you're familiar with what is known as the flower sermon, but the story goes that the Buddha gave a sermon that was simply he just held up a white flower, and that was it. That was his sermon, and just one member of his audience understood what he was saying.
Okay.
Which is basically this. It's basically Daisiest Daisy, people. So, and the Doctor just is complete, 180, and he sees everything as wonderful and awesome now, and doesn't quite fit the setting of like they're in jail in Atlantis. And
I gotta say, it kind of fits Pertwee though, who, as we've observed many times, is kind of unflappable, right? Like he's just kind of like Pertwee throughout most stories, even when Joe is seemingly killed in Planet of the Daleks, and he's kind of just going along with it a few scenes later, etc. Like, or what have you. Some super tragic things happening. He's just always Pertwee. So you can kind of sort of get a little bit of like, oh, I get it. He's just Zen because of his history.
Yeah, Barry Letts had this whole notion that the Doctor was not fully enlightened, but semi-enlightened. Which means that he sort of basically gets it. He's basically halfway to enlightenment, which kind of explains his insufferable arrogance sometimes. But also still sort of, human enough or Time Lordy enough, or who knows what he was before they went through the portal in Timeless Children enough. It's still got flaws, which is great.
Yeah.
I love that conception. But yeah, that's full on Barry Letts stealing from Buddhism. I feel like I just want to get this out of the way, because I also feel like this particular story steals from Benny Hill in its superpowered Bessie going at 2 miles an hour. Just, Dudley Simpson must have been holding himself back from doing the Benny Hill theme tune at that point.
I like that. Like, it brings up, like, why did he ever invent the Whomobile? Like, Bessie's great, and I think there's a reason we saw Bessie in the Seventh Doctor era, and not the Whomobile. It's like, like the Whomobile is very dated. It's very like everyone had their mobiles in the 60s and 70s, and let's have the Doctor have one. But Bessie's awesome, and I like that it's. He's got these special abilities in it, and that the Brigadier has that moment where he's thinks, I don't know, this is making fun of his car again. It's padding, but it is again all this sort of chummy unit stuff is full on here.
But Bessie is also mentioned when they mention the Doctor talks about the TARDIS being conscious for one of the first times, I guess the first time since Edge of Destruction. All way back then. Joe says, you talk about the TARDIS as if she were alive. And he says, depends what you mean by alive. I mean, you take Bessie, for instance. Is he trying to say Bessie's alive as well?
Maybe. Interesting.
I mean, why divert to Bessie? That was a very interesting...
He must have put a little AI in it, I guess. But, I do like that line about the TARDIS, though. And it is probably here where... trying to think if there's anything before. This might be the turning point where they start to sort of talk about telepathic circuits.
It's the first telepathic circuit mentioned,
Exactly, because then they play on that in, obviously, Frontier in Space, Planet of the Daleks, and then, this whole aspect of the TARDIS with almost a mind of its own grew and grew, which, of course, went to the Doctor's wife.
So the TARDISes are talking telepathically, which explains why they both appear to have done redecorating on their roundels at exactly the same time.
Right.
There's one.
Speaking of Barry Letts being disappointed, here it is again.
Yes.
He hated this. I got to be honest, so did I. Like, this is not a good look for the TARDIS. This is about the most 70s the TARDIS ever looks.
I saw one commentary where someone described them as wash basins, and once I saw that, I was like, okay, I can't see it as anything but.
It looks like you want to just grab the console room and start popping those like they're bubble wrap. Like you just want to.
Oh my God, TARDIS bubble wrap. If you're listening to this and you're any sort of Doctor Who merchandise provider, we would
console
love
room
to.
Bubble wrap.
Console room bubble wrap. That's $1 million idea if ever I heard one. Get on it, folks. We can make it pull to open branded.
I got to say, when they finally get in the TARDIS and they're off to chase the man, I love that scene between the Doctor and Joe. It was apparently ad-libbed, where she's like, he says, "Glad to have you aboard, Miss Grant. Glad to be aboard, Doctor."
Yes.
They're getting very really chummy, obviously in real life, and the Doctor and Katie, Jon Pertwee and Katie Manning got along great. And I think this is a really nice episode for Jo. She gets to wear some pretty nice outfits in Atlantis and a crazy wig that is about the most over the top performance in the entire serial.
Oh my God! Yeah, are we ready for the Atlantis section of the podcast? I feel like the story itself, we're sort of saving Atlantis for last.
Yeah,
there's so much to discuss there. Shall we start?
Yeah, well, I just think it's great. Like one of the most, I remembered so much of this, even though I hadn't seen it in 30 years. The whole bit where it's like the Lady Jojo Grant. It's just Jo actually. Then she's just the Lady Jo. The Lady Jo.
The Lady Jo.
It's so funny.
That is nice.
It's a pretty good gag.
There are a few gems of lines tucked away here amid all the cringe. If you really rake it out, you can find some, amid all the glass, there are some actual genuine crystals here. And yes, the whole, the Doctor's threatening what would happen in the time ram. He says, extinction, utter annihilation. Now do you still want to come? She says, it is my job, remember. Glad to have you aboard, Miss Grant. And he salutes her. Glad to be aboard, Doctor, and it's beautiful. It's just lovely scenes like that, and many over the top scenes as well. But yes, Atlantis. Shall we do it?
Let's do it. It's time for the Pull to Open History Corner.
So Atlantis never existed. That's the History Corner. Thanks, folks. You've been a great audience. No, it didn't exist except in Plato. Plato mentions Atlantis in 2 of his dialogues. Not to say, hey, there was this awesome place where people summoned Kronos and, wore amazing wigs and had incredible cleavage. No, it was the idea. Atlantis was this sort of like fictional place that Athens was supposed to be warring with, and it's, it basically did the wrong thing, according to Plato. He was illustrating a political point, right? But for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years after Plato, people have been trying to argue, no, Atlantis was a real place, and either it was in the Mediterranean, because that's what Plato meant when he talked about the Pillars of Hercules, which is what Atlantis is beyond, or it's in the Atlantic because the Pillars of Hercules might be the gap, at the edge of the Mediterranean Sea where past Gibraltar lets out into the Atlantic. So it's all a myth. It is amazing what you can build on when you build legend upon legend upon legend. Add a sprinkling of Greek myth, as they're doing here with the mention of Kronos being Chronovore, and you just, Atlantis can just be whatever you want it to be, right? And
it sounds like it's basically history's Epstein files.
Yeah.
Is kind of what you have when it's just talked about. And within Doctor Who, though, a lot of these conspiracies are real. And this is, in fact, the third, I guess it was not really theory, but it's the third history of Atlantis within the show. So the previous ones being the Underwater Menace and the Daemons. And both of those show alternate, even though in the Daemons it's more dialogue. So you could chalk up the Daemons as just it was BS, that maybe that it was one of the other ones. But I believe, you actually never seen the Underwater Menace, but I believe it's all about that. So, yeah, which is it? I don't know. Time can be rewritten, I guess.
I guess we'll find out. But Atlantis, it was very popular in the 70s, in part because people were all into that sort of the notion that the Mayans were like the ancestors of Atlanteans.
Chariots of the gods, all that stuff.
Yeah, Chariot of the gods, all of that stuff. But also Donovan had a surprise hit with a track called Atlantis. At the end of the 60s. Actually, surprise hit everywhere but the UK. It was a hit in the US, which is weird, because the first half of it is just Donovan talking in a Scottish accent about Atlantis, being a bit Peter Capaldi there. But yeah, so that's, I think, probably what inspired the Atlantis being cool and in the media at that time, was that it was kind of a big musical hit, and the hippies were all about it.
Wow. Well, that explains the hippies' obsession with Atlantis, but there are some other questions that we must answer. And those are, of course, the 4 questions to Doomsday.
Kronos! No!
First question, why did the randomizer take us here?
Well, there are so many connections with Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Not just it being a Pertwee, but a Pertwee story with a character named Ruth. But a Pertwee story with a character named Ruth also has time technology and is not particularly well regarded today and shouldn't be 6 parts. And it's almost like if you were to twin up episodes of Doctor Who, that look alike, feel alike, seem alike, the Time Monster and Invasion of the Dinosaurs, they'd be bunking up, right? They'd be buddies.
Yeah.
Bosom buddies, you might say.
I guess you have Yates betraying unit, and here you have Benton just out of uniform, I guess. Which
Yes.
it's not quite a court-martial offense, but he may get busted for it. So I think it's pretty obvious. There is this person in a strange suit that basically straight up kills the Doctor, and then the Doctor has to be brought back. Well, it didn't really kill him. They got to get out of that somehow, and I got to say, Stephen Moffat, you took a whole season to get out of that. All you had to do was flip some switches on the TARDIS. Just bring him back.
Reverse the polarity, obviously. Reverse the polarity of the time flow, as Pertwee says here. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. And I'm so glad that Stephen Moffat did not choose to revive the Kronos costume coming out of Lake Silencio. That would have been pretty wild. I like that idea.
Certainly glad he didn't have the squawking come back. But... yeah, it is. I got to say, it's just kind of a bit of a cop-out. I got to, they don't really earn the Doctor coming back. It's Joe is miserable in the TARDIS and just flips some switches, and now that the Doctor's back, they can get out of it. It just seems like you didn't really... You kind of sold something a little more major in the scene before. It would have been good to have something that they'd done, like the Doctor prepped for it. Because he is consciously going out to confront the Master and knows that there's probably... something's going to happen. It would have been nice to have seen something, or either a bit of dialogue, or he takes something with him to make sure as a sort of an insurance policy. And instead it just comes across as like, oh, we just had to press this one button here. Yeah.
It could have been some internal version of the HADS that sort of, prevents the Doctor from actually losing his corporeal self. Yes, there's definitely no state of temporal grace in any TARDIS eye in this story. But yeah,
well, I mean, I think you can sort of make head kind of that pretty easily. I mean, Kronos is just so powerful, and is sort of, because he has space-time powers. I don't think temporal grace, even if it exists, which has been pretty definitively shown to be it doesn't. But even if it did, it wouldn't work against Kronos. So that I don't mind.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, TOMTIT, up against TOMTIT plus the time scoop versus Stephen Moffat timey-wiminess that it previously showed us. The randomizer definitely wants us to compare and contrast.
Oh boy, you're concocting kind of evil plots together. So don't get ahead of yourselves, because that's the second question, which is, what if the evil plot had succeeded?
Well, then, all right. The evil plot is...
Who's it? Who's not?
Who's evil plot? The Master's evil plot, right, to steal the Kronos crystal in full and bring back Kronos
to control Kronos,
destroy the universe,
or at least rule it in the same way that the Ainley Master was going to use the CVE in Legopolis to rule the universe. So you got to say here, it does. Like, he succeeds, but for time ram. Like, he gets the crystal. Like, he's right at the end when he's talking to the Doctor. I've got Miss Grant, I've got the crystal, I've got my TARDIS. I've got all the cards. Like, what are you going to do? And it's like, well, I'm going to time ram you. And it's like, oh.
Are you? Are you? Yeah. You never could fire that thing,
again,
Doctor.
We didn't talk about that scene, but I really like that twist. Even though I don't like so much the cringe, I'm on my knees stuff, like where he's just like, very well, go ahead, do it.
Yep.
Come on. Yeah?
Yeah.
Come on. I'm not going to dance to your tune. Do it.
Yeah.
And I love that there was like, I'll give you one last chance. Nonsense. You can't bring yourself to destroy her. Now admit it.
That is probably the best part, the best stretch of dialogue and drama that they actually bring to this.
Right?
It's a really good moment. But yeah, so we assume that doesn't happen, that Joe doesn't. Or actually, there was a version of the script where Joe was chained up and could only hit the time ram thing on the console with her toe. So let's say that Joe was actually chained up, couldn't reach the console with her toe, and then the Master has the crystal and he can do whatever he wants.
Well, and he has Joe hostage. So, he basically doesn't, he has to worry about the Doctor, but it is in the sense that the Doctor's kind of paralyzed.
Yeah.
He can't really do anything against him because it might end up killing Joe. So I don't know. Like, what does he have to do?
Setup. That would be a great setup, actually, for a better season 10. Like, you could have a season-long arc where the Doctor just has to chase after the Master's TARDIS, find out where he's set up his throne this week, and what Princess Leia bikini-like outfit has he got Joe chained up in this week. That could be it could be a nice thing for
trading outfits with Ingrid Pitt there.
Really?
But yeah, I mean, it could be interesting. I do think its potential as the more Doctor Master. I mean, we saw, that's basically season 8, right? Like, it's all Delgado is pretty much in every story, and it would be hard to top this one. I gotta say, like, this, as far as a Master performance goes, and Doctor Master rivalry, I think it goes really well here. So I think the evil plot succeeding is sort of like exactly as you say, but I do think it's even though it might be a more interesting season 10. Well, you'd also have to talk about how is the Doctor flying the TARDIS, right? Because technically, even though there's a lot of TARDIS stuff in this one, it's prior to the 3 Doctors. Like, he has not been granted his full access yet.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe that becomes the villain as opposed to Omega, which again I don't like that because you want Omega. So maybe you still have a version of season 10 with Omega and the Master. I don't know.
But since we're shooting for the moon, let's have the version where Patrick Troughton and Jamie and Zoe were able to come back as they were planned for the 3 Doctors, and they all have to go after Joe, being kidnapped by the Master. That would be, and they have to fight Omega along the way. Oh my goodness!
There you go.
I'm getting caught up in.
You don't even need gel creatures now. Master and Omega together, and Kronos.
Oh my god!
Well.
Name a more iconic duo or trio. I'll wait.
Yeah, maybe it comes out that Kronos is Omega, so that way you could ditch that costume, and then it's a whole different backstory for Omega. Maybe that helps. Yeah, I think we did it. There it is.
All right. Yep. Let's see what else we can do in retconning the Time Monster, because I see a certain retcon device hoving into view.
As do I. It is the third question, and that is, of course, where is the Clara Splinter? Clara Oswald, splintered in time at the end of The Name of the Doctor. She's somewhere in every single Doctor Who story. Where is she in The Time Monster?
Well, I'm going to blow your mind here, because I think I'm going to go for the biggest possibility of all. I think that giant face of Kronos that we see at the end, I think she's a little Clara-ish. I'm sort of reverse engineering a little Jenna Coleman into that.
All right.
I think Kronos is Clara. Clara is Kronos. And of course, if she's splintered through a timeline, she would have the power to exist in all the interstitial time between the Doctor's moments. So yeah, who else to fix things in the end and to rein the Master in eventually, and also if she's Kronos, that she can manipulate so many things in this story. Whatever plot hole you've got, she can take care of it.
That's cool. I didn't have that. I like that. I like that she's Kronos, and once she's freed, she's helping manage all the other Claras.
Right.
The best I got was she was in charge of the evacuation of Atlantis. Because you see it broken and blown up by Kronos, I guess, but they can't really show the scale of the destruction.
They can't.
So it's just kind of the same place, just nobody's in it, and there's a few like props knocked over.
Yeah.
So I think she had time to get a few people to the boats.
That's right. It's just that she's manned the lifeboats already. Women and children first. They're sailing through the Pillars of Hercules. By the way, the Doctor has this one of the weirdest, cringiest lines is right at the end, where the Doctor says, "Just think, it happened 3,500 years ago." Like, no, it didn't. That's not any conception that Atlantis happened then. And like, why would you just think that? The Doctor's sort of weirdly like not into time travel in this. Like, it's not the first thing that he thinks of when Stu turns old. It's the Brigadier saying Anno Domini, which just means Year of Our Lord. Anyway, so many dialogue holes that Clara needs to fill in this as well, I think. Jeez.
Well, she could be in more than one place, but we need to be into our next place, which is the next question, and that is, of course, the thing I'm going to tell you after I tell you all about our newsletter at pulltoopen.net. You can subscribe there to get full written notes on every episode, but perhaps not this one for complicated reasons. And
they'll come through in 3,500 years' time.
About that time. But it's a great place to keep up with the show, get full notes on all of our episodes, and also get reminded whenever we post a new episode. You'll get a new newsletter, and that's a great way to keep up with the show. And now it is time for the fourth question, the final question, the only question that matters for the Time Monster. What did we think of this story? The Pull to Open rating system has 7 ratings. There's the Dalek, which we give to a good episode of Doctor Who. The Ogron, which we give to an irredeemably bad episode of Doctor Who. The Professor Hater, which we give to an episode that isn't so great, but hey, at least they tried something. The Viscount Banger, which we reserve for the best of the best. The Fixed Point in Time, which is a show beyond rating, usually for reasons of nostalgia. The Lady Cassandra, which is a good-looking story, but a paper-thin plot. And the Zarbi, which is a story that is so bad, it is actually good. What say you for the Time Monster?
Fixed Point and TOMTIT. No, it's... No, you kind of want to make this a fixed point in time. I don't know. I don't want to join the chorus of haters on the Time Monster. I think that there's enough of that out there, and I think it is. It's a fun. So much of it is over the top that you guessed it. I've got a hybrid rating, and at least half of that hybrid has to be a Zarbi. But also, I think you learn so much about what works and what doesn't work. It has to be a Professor Zarbi.
I like that.
And yeah, you learn a little bit about the concept of interstitial time, which is cool, and ontological absurdities, being without becoming, Brigadier. An ontological absurdity. Now, that's a Professor Hater right there. So yeah, Professor Zarbi, it's fun enough, although like, so it's only 50% Zarbi. Like a 50% reduced version of this story would be a hell of a Zarbi, right?
It would. Yeah, honestly, like I've as I watched this and had a good time watching it, I kind of came around. Like I kind of don't know what people are talking about. I think there's so much to recommend this, particularly Delgado's performance. I articulated the plot. Okay, the plot is straightforward, but I like the obstacles, like I said, they put in front of both the Doctor and the Master. It's ultimately about the Doctor and the Master. Mm-hmm. And I think their scenes together are really, really good. Again, the Master's a great villain. Pertwee's Pertwee, and he has some good... And whether you can like or not like the bit about his background in Gallifrey, but it's definitive. And his stuff with Joe is great. I'm actually going to go for it and give this one a Dalek. Like, this is pretty good Doctor Who, in my view.
Whoa!
Yeah, I know it's nuts, but it's like,
oh my
this is
god!
It. I think honestly, if you are a fan of the Master, this is a great episode of Doctor Who. Yeah. Like, watch it for that. Like, I would recommend people watch it. Like, yeah, this might be peak Delgado in my view.
But also definitely bring your non-serious face to this topic.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? You know, it's very light. And also
I think you're right in that I might need to... Do I need to... Can you have a Dalek Zarbi hybrid?
Yeah, you can. Absolutely, you can. Absolutely. The Dalek can just sort of lift itself up and have these dancer's legs underneath the pepper pot. I like that idea.
I do, because that's kind of where I'm at. Because you do have to get into that so bad it's good zone a bit, but it is like it's more good than bad. I'll give it that.
Absolutely,
like that is So
you're gonna have a fun time. You're gonna have we didn't even mention Ingrid Pitt.
We mentioned her, but we didn't. We mentioned
expansive bosom ever seen in Doctor Who.
Yeah,
yes,
we mentioned certain
that
attributes, shall we say?
But if you've watched the Master trilogy and you're like, oh, the Master wouldn't have a wife. Like, what's he doing, making out with that? You see it right here. The Master, he's got game. He's got game. Oh yeah. He's I say the less polite form of that, but he's got game.
Yeah, he gives her a little bit of a look.
Yeah.
As soon as he arrives.
He checks her out. I mean, who wouldn't with this bosom? You'd have to be made of stone. But he does that. And then he's definitely, that's one of the best scenes, isn't it? Where he is flirting with the Queen of Atlantis. And just there is that scene. They do chemistry pretty well in that scene, I'd say.
Yeah. No, that's great. Again, there's just so much to get out of this. There's no way. This is way better than his reputation. I got to say, the Time Monster is a good time.
And
definitely worth watching.
Enough to say you kind of want that evil plot to succeed moment where Delgado is going across the cosmos with this crystal, just picking up queens from every era, and just.
Want to check out my giant bird? I'm a Time Lord.
come back and look at my Kronos crystal. Kronos, come!
It's just like Zaphod Beeblebrox, this other guy boring you? I've got a TARDIS and a crystal.
It does. There are things here that feel a bit Douglas Adams-esque, right? I mean, not just the Cambridge setting, not just the TOMTIT. I mean, I don't know how much he was having us on with TOMTIT and Coccyx and give me that fork, Joe, and all of the stuff here that's a bit sort of you can read it on multiple levels. Anyway.
Yeah, totally. Lots to work with, shall we say.
Yep.
All right, folks, that is our view of the Time Monster. It is now time to have your view on the Time Monster reflected by voting yourself. Do you think it's a Dalek, Ogron, Professor Hater, Viscount Banger, Fixed Point in Time, Lady Cassandra, or Zarbi? Vote now in the Spotify app. If you would like to leave a hybrid rating, we will take it into account. When we talk about the ratings, just leave it as a comment, because you can do that on Spotify. Just comment on this podcast, and you will be rewarded with lots of chatter.
Yes,
now we need to end the chatter.
Crystal. Maybe we'll send you a crystal. Yes, it's time to end the chatter. It's time to flee before the cheap polystyrene bricks of Pull to Open fall over our heads as Atlantis crumbles, pausing only to briefly check out the slave dudes who are carrying the Queen's litter, just to make sure that we're just checking out, them as well, not just making you think we're just checking out the Queen's wreck. We step back into our random number machine, our random number generator, our randomizer. That's right. It is a TARDIS. It is. By the way, why did the Master forget to do the chameleon circuit when he arrived in Atlantis? It's so easy. Terrence Dix actually mentions that in the novelization. He's like, in all the excitement, the Master forgot to activate the chameleon circuit, so he just shows up in Atlantis. Well,
it might explain why it's always a Greek column for a long time. Afterwards, it's on a delay. Yeah. That was too maybe the Master's TARDIS is a little obsolete. It's not a type. Maybe it's a Type 41.
Yes.
Maybe that one's getting a little obsolete now.
All right, we step into our Doric column, pausing only to notice that we've redecorated and we don't like it. We fire up our randomizer. Peter's standing at the controls of one of them. That's the Codex. It's the list of all Doctor Who stories in sequential order. I have the other control. I have the power. I have the power of randomness. And that is supplied by Kronos. No, it's supplied by random.org, which is a website that generates true randomness by bouncing off atoms in the atmosphere and goes looking for the daisiest daisies it can find to bounce off of, creating a random number once it does so. We enter that number into random.org, aka the executor. Pete, what is the magic number?
The magic number, now that I have X'd off the Time Monster, is 173.
173. See, this is why we're getting all this Pertwee. we're fully in the 70s. I do want to say, by the way, I remember not just is that the Randomizer's favorite Doctor is now Pertwee, but also I think Pertwee, I've decided, I said Capaldi was a good name for a cat or a good name for a pet in a previous podcast. I think Pertwee's a better name. But if you've got twin kittens, Pertwee and Capaldi, you could do a lot worse than those names. Anyway, so 173, we're full-on 70s nostalgia, but we're not necessarily going to go to the 70s. And we would like to pause in interstitial time here and step out of our randomizer and see the face of the randomizer above us, represented as a woman in amazing makeup, and we get to make requests of her. We do not know whether they'll be granted, but Pete, what is your request to the almighty randomizer?
Well, the randomizer clearly is in love with Pertwee right now, and a big Pertwee kick. So I am going to encourage that by asking it to bring us to some recurring monsters. So I don't know if you know about this, but Doctor Who isn't being made anymore. But they've made a show in the universe of Doctor Who called The War Between the Land and the Sea.
No, The Land Between the War and the Sea, I think is the new title. Yeah.
The Sea Between the Land and the War. Yes, so it's time. We've only done, of all of the adventures that feature the reptile people, we've only done Legend of the Sea Devils. Bring us to one of those. Bring us to some story that features Silurians or Sea Devils. I'd even take the Paternoster Gang, which features a Silurian.
Well, yes, Atlantis is often known as antediluvian. So let's find some antediluvian monsters. I like that. Well, you've taken care of, I think, the safer bet, as it were. In our pull to open portfolio. And
there's two Pertwees. That's what I was alluding to. There's two Pertwees that have them.
Yes, one including a Doctor Who and the. We'll have a Doctor Who and the bingo, if we go there. But yes, I think okay. So you've got the safe bet in our portfolio. You've got that's the S&P 500, as it were. I'm going to take the risky money. I'm going full triple Yahtzee, and I'm going to say, because we mentioned the Doctor as a boy, let's go to Capaldi, let's go to other comfort food, and let's go to listen.
Whoa, this is like roulette. You are putting all your chips on one number.
That's right.
I think the chances on this is actually less than roulette. Quite a bit less. Significantly.
Probably. But I like my odds. No, I like my odds because the randomizer liked Capaldi. And, any other Doctor, I wouldn't say, let's go there. But mention of the boy, I mean, that could be just too tempting for the randomizer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we could tick off a bunch of these with deep breath, if you think about it. Because it's not Silurians, but I'll take dinosaurs. It's dinosaurs. Yeah. That's pretty close.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Well, let's
see how this
goes. Dinosaurs, definitely antediluvian. All right, give me a countdown, sir.
In 4, 3, 2, 1.
70.
Oh boy, we are not quite in New Who. We are at the Happiness Patrol.
Oh my goodness! Back to Sylvester McCoy. Okay.
Yes, back to McCoy. And this is funny because in our next episode of Pull to Open, assuming I finished the edit, it will be a special episode of us at Long Island Who.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully doing some cast interviews and a few other things there. But I remember when we were there last year, they had a special video presentation about the Happiness Patrol. It was basically kind of a music video thing. So this is kind of a very interestingly regarded episode, shall I say. And I'm really looking forward to revisiting it because I haven't seen it in decades. And it's definitely developed its own following within the Doctor Who community. I'd love to sort of look at that and take that apart a little bit.
Well, I love it. And of course, we are staying in Old Who, which means we don't have to step into the void, the interstitial space of what used to be on HBO Max, New Who.
right.
But we're sticking with this, and we're going to go meet the Candyman.
Candyman.
The Candyman, the runner-up name for the rating that became the Zarbi was the Candyman. I'm very excited to finally meet him. Never met the Candyman.
Fantastic. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us here on this podcast. Hey, podcasts are great things to follow and subscribe to if you haven't done that, but absolutely the best thing you can do for this here podcast is to share it with a friend if you like it. So please do that. Follow us on the socials. We are at Pull to Open or Pull to Open 63 on most networks. Thank you, Martin West, for your music. It always makes us sound a little bit more professional. And we will see you next time when we visit the Happiness Patrol.
That's right. We'll be coming to you live from Terra Alpha, so watch out for that. And as Pete says, we'll be dropping some recordings from Long Island 2 probably before then. So enjoy that too. But yeah, take care, folks. Don't have too much Candyman.
Take it easy.